Hey there boys and girls, Lucky here and welcome back to the third episode of Noob to Pro, the series where you can go from noob to pro, and this time around we'll be talking about aiming, so crosshair placement, firing rhythms, recoil spray and trigger control, as well as the weapon spread. As always, it's a 3-part series, so on Mondays you'll always get the big tutorial like this with your training routine for the week. Tuesdays you can come to my stream, ask me questions, I'll do some live teaching, and after that you can watch my girlfriend's stream and see her actually do the training. And Sunday you'll see a couple of highlights and a couple of more review stuff and questions answered from this whole week. But I'd say let's get right into it. So let's talk a little bit about crosshair placement. So many beginners, they just kind of aim at the floor like this and they aim in between the crosshair and the numbers right here, so the scoreboard, and that's not really efficient because if an enemy comes up, you gotta flick up to him and try to hit him. Now there are two parts to crosshair placement. The first one is the obvious one, that is aim up. Aim up basically means, for example, this prop, half the height of it is usually the headshot height. So if we place a bot right here, we can see that's accurate, and that actually is accurate for most props in the game. So this one we can also kind of assume, okay, not quite high, but still half the height is about the head height, and that's usually where you want to aim with your crosshair placement. Now, people can still mess it up if they got the height right, because then it would basically be like this. They can still do this, like right here. And I talked about this before. This is basically not properly using your strafe keys. And what you want to do, you want to completely master crosshair placement, not only in height, but only in kind of a horizontal space. So you're always snapping to the corners like that, but not directly onto them, but kind of in front of them, just like this. So you're not shooting the corner when the enemy's popping up, but instead you're shooting the guy. For example, I like to play this position here quite a lot. So every time someone is trying to sneak around right here, I'm just pre-aiming this button and I'm firing at him, and it's an easy kill usually. Of course, you also gotta know yourself. You gotta know your reaction time, stuff like that. So if you know you're not completely super fast with your reaction time, don't aim like this. Maybe aim a little bit more away from the wall in order to give yourself some more distance like this, because this will make it easier for you to actually compensate for your reaction time. And that's basically how crosshair placement works. So you gotta go up, like for example here, this door half the height, or kind of smaller crates is like 3/4, and then there are also the half crates, for example like this barrel, and you need to up a little higher even than that. Or once again this door, the two plates I guess you could call them, that is also a good height. So if we again place another bot right here, if we aim right here at the side, we're again at head height. So that's usually what you do, is right here the red box, have that also good height. And that's basically how you want to do your crosshair placement. Of course, keep in mind, the height changes. For example, right here, you gotta go up to this spot. But again, the plates kind of indicate where the enemy is. So if we, again, place another bot right here, we can see that it's still accurate for the same thing. So everything in CS is usually kind of at the same height when it comes to props. So just use that as an example, or just aim at the head of your friendlies like this, because this will also help you to just keep the proper height. And then, of course, just use the height of that and then do the same thing you did. For example, right here you gotta shift up to this spot. Again, the blue line is kind of indicating you that this would be a good height to pre-aim. You see you're still getting his chest done and you're almost to the head, so just watch out for the map and snap from corner to corner. And the height is usually indicated by a couple of other things. Right here, the A also should be pretty decent, right? Like underneath here. Yeah, you can see that also works pretty well. Or just like the barrels, aim a little bit above them and you're also fine. Something else that's very helpful as well are the workshop maps Prefire. As you can see, they're right here for Cobble, Mirage, Cache, and also for Dust 2. And with these maps you can actually practice your crosshair placement a lot better, even more, because you actually have to pre-aim and then again also use it in action. Now on the map you can, for example, just choose short, Dust 2 right here, then AK and 5.7, and you can already start with your pre-aiming. As we can see, this works out pretty well because bots are scattered around the map at random places. However, those random places are set places for basically CT positions where they usually would be holding from. So by doing that you can actually train your crosshair placement, but you'll also learn common spots for CTs to hide behind or to hold from in order to pre-fire and pre-aim the spots more effectively, since it's not always that easy to just change the height or the altitude where your crosshair placement should be. So this will definitely help you out. I also have another video on that in case you want to check that out as well. It will probably link in the description down below. Alrighty, so now let's talk about weapon spread and how it will affect your performance in-game. First of all, hit up the console and type in cl_weapon_debug_show_accuracy2. This will show you, if you hit enter, the weapon spread of the weapon. For example, right here of the AK and right here of the Tech 9. So as we can see, the AK is clearly more accurate, while the Tech-9 is not. However, yet they're still hitting very close to each other, almost in the same spot. Now, weapon accuracy is something, or better said, weapon spread is something that will determine how accurate your weapon is. So we're aiming right in this middle spot, yet our bullet's landing here, here, and here for this, this, and this spot. So this means whenever you're firing a weapon, you always have to consider the spread of the weapon. For example, I set my crosshair up so that, as you can see, that the circle is always within my crosshair lines, so I know that as soon as someone is filling out my crosshair, I'm able to hit them. Now, with the Tech-9, of course, that's not the case. However, for the AK, that's very fitting. Same, for example, goes for the deagle. The deagle is extremely accurate, actually even more accurate than the AK over here, and again has a smaller deviation, hence a smaller spread. Now, the thing is, if you're spamming your weapon, the deviation or spread will increase. For example, like this. I'm just doing a little... As you can see, the first shot, fairly accurate, but it's extremely accurate because we're also crouched, which kind of, again, reduces the deviation if you take a closer look. But then again, when we're spamming it, the deviation just gets bigger and bigger. And now, without the crouch, you can see the circles are getting wider and wider. And with the AK, when you're spraying to the very last bullet, the circles start to become also a lot wider. So if we just take the first bullet right here and then switch over and then take the last one down there, you can see that they're almost twice or even 3 times as big if you compare it to the first bullet. And of course this means you always have to be prepared that even though if you're completely on the target, that you can still miss if the weapon has too much spread. Now let's talk about firing rhythms. So there are basically 3 of them that you can use in-game, and those techniques are tapping, bursting, and spraying. Of course, all of them are better for a certain distance. For example, if you're at long range, tapping is very effective. If you're at close range, spraying is very effective, and bursting is kind of a medium in between. Personally, I prefer most of the time bursting over both of these, if it's not extremely long range or extremely close range. But we'll get to that in a second. But let's actually start out with tapping. So now let's talk about tapping. Tapping is the preferred firing method for encountering extreme long-range targets, like this guy back there. So just tapping and firing single shots like this. At that range, stuff like spraying is not a viable option, because the bullets are just way too far apart to be accurate like that. So at extreme long ranges, for example like right here, you tap. So that's basically the best thing you can do. At the same time, however, you can also just do really quick and short bursts, and I feel like these are more accurate. So even though tapping does have its place, I feel it's mostly limited by the weapon spread and should really only be used for extreme long range scenarios. For example, back there from pit onto the plat right there, and then just try to fire single shots and step in between to get a hit in. And that's basically where it should be. Now, I think another spot where tapping actually plays a way bigger role than with rifling is with a pistol. So let's fly over to the B side and I can show you guys a little bit more in detail. For example, with the USP or even with the Glock at very close ranges, just doing the single tap right here is very important. My teammate is complaining right here because I'm shooting him, but I'll have to show you. So being able to have that point and click aim like this, that's basically a big part of tapping and actually being good with a pistol. And of course, winning the pistol round is very important. So just being able to tap those guys right here is a very good thing to do. So they all got armor, so that's why it's taking 2 shots, and they're done. Now there's another thing that I want to talk about. Now let's talk about trigger control. So trigger control is one of the main things that will make you a better pistol player. The thing with trigger control is that usually, for example, you're holding the tunnels and just rushing out, you might be doing something like this. You just try to click as fast as possible and spray them away. And of course, even if we're completely firing as fast as we can, it's not that fast and it's also not that accurate. I mean, it's still fairly accurate since it's a pistol and they're fairly good with that, but just in general, taking the time to aim at the head and then shoot, just like the tapping, will reward you a lot more than actually just trying to spray at them like this. So take your time with your aiming to go for the headshot. Oh, they're wearing head armor again. And kill them like this, and you should be already better to go. Just having the trigger control of not spamming away, not panicking. Try to pace your shots. make them count each shot at a time, and you'll be a lot better sooner. Now let's talk about bursting. I think bursting is the most efficient and best way to take most, or at least the majority of gunfights in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Why is that? As you can see right here, if we fire this spot from back here at the wall, so just jump back and fire at it, the weapon spread of the weapon doesn't completely allow us to always hit the same spot again. So once we're hitting here and then there and there, so we're not all that accurate with the rifle. So by bursting and just pulling and dragging down somewhere between 2 and 5 bullets, we can get the same pattern as over there in a shorter amount of time, resulting in a better time to kill. Of course, you just gotta fire and pull it down a little bit, and it's between 2 and 5 bullets, and you can get a pretty decent and tight pattern. This works for the most engagements in CS. So someone is there, you can just usually burst them kind of, and you'll still be good enough with that, and you don't have to tap. Same goes for someone who's running out right here to you, you can still kind of burst him away and try to go for a headshot. So only when it's extremely long or close range, when you're, for example, going around right here to a guy hiding there, or better said, right here in Longhouse, and he's rushing you and just need to spray. For everything else, bursting is usually the most effective method. So I can only recommend to you guys to really get your bursting down. It also keeps you mobile at all times. So same with tapping, you can kind of do this right here with a stutter stepping and just be accurate the whole time while moving. And with bursting it's kind of the same. You can do these bursts, so only 2 to 3 round bursts like that, and you can get more bullets in with a higher chance of actually killing the enemy, and at the same time you're still moving and being mobile enough to not being shot yourself. So learning bursting is definitely one of the best things that you can do in the game. So how does the spray pattern work? If we check it out, we can see that if we start to fire like this, it goes up with spray and then it stays in the middle of the spray. So what this means, the first 5-ish bullets, the crosshair actually moves up, and after that it stays at a fixed point. However, the bullets will continue to move up further. So for the first 5 bullets we can just try to pull down the crosshair to the same spot like this. Then after that you have to go even further down in order to complete the other part of the spray pattern right here. So basically what you're doing, for the first 5 bullets you're holding it in the middle, just at the same spot, and then you're dragging it down like this. And that's basically how you're controlling the first 10 bullets. The next ones are a little bit different because they go from side to side. And usually that might be an issue, like when you're saying, I aimed right at his head and then it looks like this. And you're, I'm right at his head, why I'm not hitting anything? Or just same example, you're kind of starting to spray, you're seeing him, and then you're at his head and I'm not hitting him, I'm not hitting him. It's basically because you're not able to control the recoil. So now let's talk a little bit about recoil control. As we can see right here, we want to get a specific workshop map called Recoil Master that should help you with your spray pattern. Just go to the workshop and download it, and as always, play offline with bots. Now next up on the map we can see this green dot, and above it right here is basically the reversed spray pattern. So basically the exact opposite way that the bullets are going. This is the mouse movement that you have to do in order to stay on target while keep spraying. So the bullet, the point right here is demonstrating that, so you kind of have to track him, and actually for some reason I'm way worse at controlling my recoil when I'm trying to do this, but for beginners it's really helpful to actually get the timing down a little better. You just want to aim at the green dot at all times, because the green dot is symbolizing the opposite spray that you're doing. Of course, you never actually should spray all bullets. It's better to spray like 10 to 15 bullets and then reset your spray and spray from a different location again, otherwise you're just sitting out in the open, and by the time you sprayed that many bullets you're probably dead anyways. Okay guys, I have another tip for you guys, or another technique, and that would be crouch spraying. So first of all, when to crouch spray. So crouch spraying does make your spray a little more accurate, meaning that the deviation of your bullet won't be as much. Now the thing is, with crouch spraying, you fire, you start to crouch, and you're a sitting duck right here. This means you're a very easy target to hit. So the only time you ever want to crouch is, for example, right here. So when you're in a gunfight, you're getting caught out in the open, you're trying to crouch spray away and just trying to evade a headshot. Otherwise, you should always stay close to cover and just alternate between it, re-peek or use the other side to peek, and this is a lot more effective. However, sometimes you have to crouch spray in order to, well, because there's no other option. I cannot move to this cover piece or to this cover piece, it's just too far off. So I'm out here in the open and I have to kind of spray like this. And as you saw me do, when you're crouching and you're moving, you're completely accurate. So you saw that? So what you can do sometimes is just run and crouch and you start to fire. And the same goes with spraying, so you can actually crouch spray like this and completely control your recoil still and be accurate with it. So that's something you should definitely try to do if you're getting caught off guard, and just run and crouch down and try to hit him like that, because you're still moving a little bit and you can kind of catch him off guard as well by doing that. Now for this week's training, we got a couple of more workshop maps that we already showed you guys, but they're very important. So we want to download the Prefire Maps, we also want to download the Recoil Control Master Map, and you also want to download the Fast Aim and Reflex map. So first of all, you want to practice on each map about 10 minutes. So you can basically choose which Prefire map you want to train, it's up to you what kind of map you want to choose, you can also mix it up, but do that 10 minutes a day. The next 10 minutes are Recoil Control. Try to learn and master the spray pattern as good as possible. After that you do another 10 minutes of Fast Aim and Reflex. Basically the first 30 kills are with the deagle. After that you no-clip out of the zone, and then you try to, well, play Call of Duty Zombies and just kill as many as possible before you're actually dying. Also keep in mind you want to stutter step in between each burst or spray or tap you're doing. Last but not least, you will be doing 30 minutes of deathmatch, preferably free-for-all deathmatch. However, if you're not very comfortable with that yet, you can still do Valve deathmatch once again. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything for this week's episode, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and luckySkillFaker out.